What's good, Yugi Tubers? NeoNexudus here, bringing you another video. I've been doing quite a few of these lately. I'm quite proud of myself. I've not got any real kind of structure, but I just seem to be uploading random bits and bobs here and there. But enough of the introductories. I'm here to talk about the limited and forbidden cards list, effective as of April 1st, 2015 for the TCG. As you can see, we're on the Konami Yu-Gi-Oh website, yu-gi-oh-card.com. So let's get into it. You all probably know the list by now, but I'm just going to talk about my personal thoughts and opinions on these cards and yada yada. So as you can see, we got the Dragon Rulers band, Blaster, Redox, Tempest, and Tidal. Now, they've all been banned as probably a preemptive strike against this stupid dark matter dragon OTK and some other very powerful OTKs with another card that's coming out sometime soon. And they are just like really good generic attribute support, and as you know, Konami seems to hate generic support. I guess the Dragon Rule has just been getting progressively worse as time goes on. The baby dragons were a stupid card design, and then we went to a format with just 3 of each of the big dragons, and then we went to a format where we went to 1 of each dragon, and now we've got a format without any of the big dragons, just 3 copies of the baby dragons, which are absolutely useless because they're just attack and defense buffers, but have no active effects because they can't summon their parents, if you like, because they're banned. So it's to potentially stop these OTKs and really piss annoying decks. And quite frankly, as much as I love the Dragon Rulers just being up 1 so you can take them into decks, I guess I can understand why they're gone. Okay, so moving on, we have, where is it? There it is, Snatch Steal. Now, I reckon that Snatch Steal has been banned because too many players have been saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. You know, Snatch Steal snatches games, it steals games away from pro players, you know, it's a cheat card, it's a cheat win, blah, 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 blah. But we've always had cards like this in the game. Snatch Steal is not a new card. We've always had Snatch Steal, we've had Brain Control, we've had Mind Control, we've had Change of Heart. You know, all Snatch Steal is a watered down version of Change of Heart. And then watered down further from that, you got Brain Control, and then watered down further from that, we've got Mind Control. And Mind Control is the only one that's still legal. Probably because you can't tribute some of it and you can't attack. The only thing you can do is Xyz or Synchro with it. That monster you take through Mind Control, rather. And I think that's a big enough restriction to allow it to stay in the game indefinitely, really. Unless there's comes out a stupid way in the future to search it from the deck. Because what you got to remember is Snatch Steal is searchable from the deck. Take, for instance, a deck that, alright, it's not a very popular deck. It's not a big contender, but Gigavise, right? I like Gigavise as the deck. I like plant-based decks. In Gigavise, it's all about searching out your equip spells, e.g. Supervise, and equipping it to Gigaplant. But to do that, you can use cards like Hidden Armory and Power Tool Dragon. Now, Power Tool Dragon allows you to search your deck for 3 equip cards, and then your opponent chooses one of those 3 equip cards randomly for you to add to your hand, the other 2 go back into the deck. So that's one way to search out Snatch Steal. Another way would be to play Hidden Armory. Although you can't normal summon that turn, you send a card from the top of your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to search your deck for an equip spell and add it to your hand. So that adds Snatch Steal to your hand, and that any card that can essentially gain you massive advantage like that, being able to take control of an opponent's monster, the ability to take opponent's monster and attack with it and tribute with it and synchro with it and all that kind of bollocks, it's just really powerful. yeah, it's an equipped spell, so if you MST it or whatever, you get your monster back. And you do gain 1,000 during each of your standby phases, but most of the time Snatch Steal can be used to gain mega advantage over your opponent. So if players are still wanting to use that tactic of taking an opponent's monster to further their strategy, they can use Mind Control. But with Snatch Steal gone, they're no longer able to Snatch Steal a game away. Okay, so moving on. We got our limited cards. Sinister Serpent, which now has an errata, and says basically when it's in the graveyard during the opponent's end phase, you banish this card. So yeah, it's somewhat still free discard fodder, but it's been watered down a lot. Tall Guard from the Underworld, this is a hit to BAs, clearly. Now, the OCG doesn't have Burning Abyss at the moment. They're currently a TCG exclusive deck. And Tall Guard from the Underworld, we've seen it sort of fluctuate, First of all, Sangan got banned, and then Torgai got like semi-limited, then it went back to 3, and now we got 1 again. Well, we got 1 now. I don't know if it was ever at 1 before, but it's because all BAs are Burning Abyss are level 3 fiends, or rank 3 fiends, if you count the Exceed, Dante. And then you got Virgil, which is like I think it's a level 6 synchro. So it's all multiples of 3. And Tour Guide searches you out the deck and special summons a level 3 fiend type monster. And thanks to certain Burning Abyss cards, you can special summon and search and bring back from the grave. And there's just lots of really powerful effects that Burning Abyss are really good. They're a really interesting archetype. Don't get me wrong, but Tour Guide is just generic support for them. It fishes one out the deck. They can overlay into Dante first turn with Tour Guide, and then detach and then get their effects and all things like that. So that's why Tour Guide's been hit. That I feel, I think it's just too good generic support for Burning Abyss. It's to try and slow them down a bit. Don't get me wrong, Burning Abyss is still going to be a major contender, but I reckon they're going to be slowed down a bit. Then we got Dragon Ravine. With the big dragons being currently banned, there's no reason for Dragon Ravine to carry on being banned, because there's no real way to abuse the card anymore, because Dragon Ravine would be used to send all your Dragon Rulers to the graveyard and then activate their effects from the graveyard to summon themselves. Dragon Ravine coming back to limited. If anyone still plays for Unity, it gives them a little bit of help, and you can also play Pseudo Space as well, which will banish Dragon Ravine in the graveyard, I believe, and then copy its effects. So essentially you can run like 2 copies of Dragon Ravine, but it's not really going to be that helpful, I don't feel. Then we got Preparation of Rites. This is to slow down Necros or Necros or however you bloody well pronounce it. It's just to slow them down a bit, Konami seems to be really trying to slow down the format, make it more grindy. Don't get it wrong, they've still got a lot of searchability with Brionac and Brota and all the other cards that search them cards. But Preparation of Rites was just too good. It nets you a +1. 1-for-1s are balanced because it's 1 card to get another card, but +1s, especially in a very powerful deck like Necro, I guess Konami's like, right, we got to stop this shit, we got to nip it in the bud. They've had X amount of time playing around with it, and we've reprinted it like twice, relatively close together. We're going to nip it in the bud and call it a day. They can still run it, but they got no way to recycle it. And they have to really think about their plays a lot more, and yeah, so then we got Sacrifice. If you guys don't know what Sacrifice does, it was an equip spell for Quillhorts, or I can't fucking pronounce the deck's name. It made them immune to being destroyed by battle and gives them a 300 point boost, Once again, Quillhawk players were running Hidden Armory to search out Sacrifice and to search out their Snatch Steal. And Sacrifice, when it's sent to the graveyard, it searches you out a Quillhawk monster. So you can go Quillhawk Scout, pay 800, search out Sacrifice, equip, and then because your monster isn't destroyed by battle, when this card goes, for instance, they destroy by a card effect, and the monster goes, and then this goes, they get another search. So it's like another rotor for their deck, you know. And I guess it was just too good because the ability to sit under skill drain with a 2800 monster and then equip Sacrifice, making it a 3100 monster, immune to being destroyed by battle, is just a little bit good. Then we got Symbols of Heritage. A lot of people don't know what this card is. It's a very, very, very old card. And it reads something along the lines of, when you have 3 monsters with the same name in the graveyard, you can play this card and special summon one of them. And I believe this has gone down to 1 due to the fact of we now have 3 Lone Fire Blossom, which I'll be touching on in a minute. As well as so many other monsters that get sent to the graveyard so easily, and the ability to have a premature burial for them is just very, very good. So they're just sort of doing a preemptive strike. I don't really know if anyone's going to run Symbol of Heritage. I'm certainly going to try it. I'm probably going to try and build some form of Gig of Eyes with it. Should be interesting, especially with the triple Lone Fire. But yeah, it's an interesting card that's been brought to light because everyone's like, what is this? And we're looking at it. I was like, that's actually not too bad. Especially with the fact that, you know, you can search it out with Hidden Armory. So, moving on, we've got Temple of the Kings. This has been neutered heavily. It just says something like you can now activate traps on the turn they are set. But you still have to set them. It's no longer you activate traps from your hand or anything like that. And then you contribute this card and Mystical Beast to Circuit to special summon a monster from your deck or extra deck or hand. But I don't think that affect's particularly relevant. Temple of Kings, its errata changed everything. It's no longer a broken ass card. This card got printed in the Merrick Structure deck a long time ago and was banned immediately. It was the last emergency ban card that we had, or card that got banned upon release. So yeah, that's come back due to the errata. Crush Card Virus, this card's come back. It's still quite powerful, but it's now more of a double-edged sword, because by tributing a dark monster with 1,000 or less attack points, you get to destroy all monsters the opponent controls with 1,500 or more, and all monsters in their hand. Then the opponent can, being optional, they can choose to destroy 3 monsters in their deck with 1,500 or more and send them to the graveyard. And then the opponent doesn't take any damage until the end of the next turn, I believe. So they've neutered that quite heavily, but it's definitely good to gain advantage. You know, if you want to clear their field, you can still use this, but you have to be very cautious, shall we say, on what deck you use it against, because you don't want to use it against things like Burning Abyss because they'll be able to trigger all their effects. Use it against Lightsworn. I probably wouldn't recommend it unless they've already got all their targets for Judgment Dragon and you just want to get that shit off board, because I hate Judgment Dragon. It's alright against... actually, I don't think there's any downside to using it against Cleese. And then if you use it against Necros, they can send things like Shriek to the graveyard. But I suppose it's all a matter of time, and it's going to be more of a skillful card. So I'll leave that up for you to debate down in the comment section below. I know a lot of you guys have probably forsaken my channel a long time ago, but I am trying to come back. So please be patient. Please be a bit supportive, and I'd love to hear your guys' comments. I really would. Because I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for you. Alright, a little bit for me, because I think it's kind of fun, but, you know, who doesn't want a Yu-Gi Tube? It's so much fun. Exchange of the Spirit, moving on. This card now says when both players have 15 cards in the graveyard, you switch the graveyard and the deck around. So basically the deck becomes the graveyard and the graveyard becomes the deck. So 15 or more cards in both players' graveyards. So if you want to play this, you're going to have a bit of a tough time. Unless you're in a Lightsworn mirror match, and could be quite funny. Ring of Destruction. This card is now being errated. Has to be used during the opponent's turn. Has to be used on an opponent's monster. And then you take the damage first, and then the opponent takes the same amount of damage that you took. This is quite cool. You know, it's a good card. I reckon it's going to become a staple again. But the monster that you destroy on the opponent's side of the field in their turn has to have attack points equal to or less than their life points. So you can ring a destruction of them for game still, but it only works off their original attack. And you know, if you have a monster on board with more, if they have a monster on board with more attack points than their life points, you can't ring a destruction that monster for game. So they have put restrictions in place, and we have enough destruction, negation, things like that now. We have Forbidden Lance and MSTs just destroy when it's set, and trap stuns, and we have what's that card? Wiretap, 7 tools. You know, we've got lots of cards to protect us nowadays. So this card coming back, I think it's going to become a staple. Only time will tell, but I think it's going to be pretty good. Skill Drain. I had some fun with this card back in the day. Skill Drain. You pay 1,000 life points. All monster effects on the field are negated. Klees abused the hell out of this because they didn't really care about their effects on the field. Not really. So Skill Drain, 2800 beat stick monster. Then equipping Sacrifice. Getting another 300, making it 31. No monster effects. It made the game very tense and very annoying. And Skill Drain, it's been asking to be hit for a long time. It's now more of a tech card. And you're also going to be very cautious with it because if they MST it upon activation, you paid 1,000 life points for nothing. So yeah, Skill Drain. I don't mind this card being hit at all. I really don't. And then Vanity's Emptiness. Well, don't I feel like a silly, silly sausage? I invested in 3 of these cards, believing that, you know, it was good for the game, it was balanced, this, that, and the other. It was too flimsy to be hit to 1 or banned. I was right, it didn't get banned. But I guess it was just wishful thinking when I said it wouldn't get limited, because I bought 3 of these guys. I could accept it going down to 2. I reckon they should have tried it out with 2 first. It wouldn't have made a lot of difference, but it made a little difference. It kind of hurts my Volcanic deck a bit now because obviously it was quite a controlling deck with vanities, and then you'd blow up your opponent's monsters. But I guess I can see why this card's gone. It was used in practically every deck. It's been printed about 3 times now, and I suppose its days were numbered. Okay, moving on. Semi-limited. These cards are now at 2. We have Quillfort Scout. I think that's how you pronounce it. Quillfort Scout. It's a level, I don't know, 5, I think it is. Normal monster. Pendulum. Might be a level 6, I'm not entirely sure. But that's regardless. People use Summoner's Art, search this out, place it in the Pendulum Zone, then activate its Pendulum effect where you pay 800 life points to search your deck for a Quillfort card. Or Quillfort card. So, yeah, this card is very interesting, to say the least. It's a rotor for the deck, and that's why probably they left it at 2 to test the water, with Sacrifice being at 1 and Quillfort Scout being at 2. You can still scout and search your Sacrifice, but it's no longer that abusable. You know, Scout is a good means for the deck. They could have essentially put it around the other way. You know, we could have had Scout at 1 and Sacrifice to 2, but I think it works better this way. So the deck isn't entirely dead. Now we have Necros of Brionac. This card, you ditch it to the graveyard to search out any Necros card from your deck that you want, basically. And I suppose they thought that's just a little bit too good, so we're gonna have to place some restrictions on that, and they semi-limited it. If you had limited it, the deck would have lost a lot of power. Being at 2, it doesn't matter that much, but it does sort of make you think a bit more about playing the Brionac. I thought personally they would have hit Manju or Senju, some generic ritual support, but I guess they wanted to go after Necros, and I'm quite surprised they hit this card so soon after release. But I'm not complaining. They can recycle it from the graveyard, so we'll have to see how 2 Necros of Brionac works. I don't personally have a problem with it, but maybe it will go to 1, I don't know. Legendary 6 Samurai Shien. Now, this card used to be a very problematic card back in the day, but now we've got so many monsters that can just run over it with ease. It's only on 2500, and it has the ability to negate 1 spell trap card per turn. Don't get me wrong, the effect is very handy if you can control the board, but there are so many monsters that can just run over it now. It's just not even funny. We got Charge of the Light Brigade back at 2. I don't necessarily have a problem with Light Swans per se. My problem with the deck is more Judgment Dragon. I believe the deck could very well be quite a cool, spammy Xyz Synchro-y deck without Judgment Dragon, but he's still got Light Ray Diablos and all things like that you could play. Obviously, the Dragon Rulers are banned now, so Charge isn't really going to dig them into the grave any faster, but it is going to add you more Light Swans and send more Light Swans to the graveyard so you can fill up for JD. And that is just incredibly annoying because I really hate Judgment Dragon. It's a stupidly overpowered card, and I wish that would get errated to if you pay 1,000 life points to destroy the field, this card cannot attack. Or Judgment Dragon cannot attack, so they can't, drop 2 others and attack the 6k directly. Rant over. Charge of the Light Brigade, it's interesting. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, I just have a problem with Judgment Dragon. Sacred Sword of 7 stars. Now this card banishes 1 level 7 monster in your hand and allows you to draw 2 cards. This card going to 2 is probably because the Dragon Rulers have now been banned. And what used to happen is you play Sacred Sword 7 stars, banish a Dragon Ruler, draw 2 cards, and then get a search for a dragon from your deck that is the same attribute as the Dragon Ruler that you banished. So essentially you'd be going +2. And with the big dragons out the picture now, that's no longer the case. You can still go +1 by banishing a level 7 monster in your hand, but it's just, I reckon they bumped this up to 2 for the upcoming Red Eye support. I for one am quite happy about that, although you do have to banish a Red Eyes to draw a couple of cards. We are getting a Red Eyes draw card, so maybe we could see some really fast spammy Red Eyes action. Fingers crossed. Okay, finally we're moving on to the no longer on the list, the Unlimiteds. We've got Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Spirit. Now, I said this card should go to 2 and then maybe 3 depending on the format. Going to 3, I don't have a problem with it, but I am a little bit intimidated by the fact that I know that 3-axis Fire Fist or 3.4-axis Fire Fist can be quite spammy. There is a guy at my locals who was essentially trademarked for running this deck, and I know he's particularly overjoyed by the fact this card's come back. I think it gives Fire Fist a nice edge. I don't really have any real complaints about the card. It's nice to see it come back. I'm certainly going to give it a spin. Why don't you? Then, of course, we got all the baby dragons, Sparks, Lightning, Reacton, and Steam. Since their parents or big brothers are now banned, there's no reason for these cards to be on the list anymore because they do absolutely nothing by themselves. Enough said. Then we got Gladiator Beast Bestiari. Another one of my hated decks. I really do not like Gladiator Beasts. I don't like anything about them. They're interesting from a researchable, outside look perspective. I'm rather biased in my opinion, just because I lived through a format where everyone was running bloody Gladiator Beasts and they were just the most annoying deck on the planet. Bestiari to 3. Alright. Let's see what it does. I reckon it should have gone to 2 instead of going straight back to 3, but this is Troll Army after all. 3 Gores. Don't have a problem with 3 Gores. No one runs Gores anyway. Only in decks that don't run any back row. Like Synchro Extremist, aka used to be called Speedy Steve 2448. He runs Junk Doppel. And I know he's quite glad to have 3 Gores because that gives him a layer of protection. So 3 Gores, why not? Let's see what happens. 3 Lone Fire Blossom. Wow, people have been wanting this card to come back to 3 for a long time now. And finally we get our wish. Lone Fire Blossom to 3, it gives plants an extra kick up the bum. We've just got some more plant type support. It's in Rose Lover and Rose Paladin. Rose Paladin searches you out a level 7 or higher plant from the deck, adds it to your hand. And Rose Lover, when banished from the grave, can special summon you a plant type monster from the hand. So you can go banish Rose Lover into Lone Fire Blossom, tribute Lone Fire Blossom into another monster, and then like you go into, say later in the game, you've used all 3 Lone Fire Blossoms up, you use that symbol of heritage that I talked to you about, bring back Lone Fire Blossom, and use its effect again. 3 Lone Fire Blossom, I have absolutely no problem with it. I'm very glad to see this card back because I'm a big plant deck lover. Go-Yo Guardian to 3. It did nothing at 2. People run 1 at best. I don't think it's going to do anything at 3. I've got no problems with this. And Hieratic Sealer Convocation. This card coming back to 3 is probably due to the Dragon Rulers being banned, because people did run Dragon Ruler Hieratics, and now that they are banned, Hieratic Sealer Convocation is kind of needed for the deck to give them some form of fluency. And since the Dark Matter Pulse Dragon with the Dragon Rulers is kind of gone now, so we don't have to worry about that. I think this card should have come back to 3 a long time ago. You know, if we have 3 Rosas and we have 3 Equals, why can't we have 3 Hieratic Sealer Convocation? Okay, Yushu, that's my thoughts on this ban list. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on the ban list. Let me know what you thought should have been on the ban list. If you'd like to see a video of me thinking about what should have been on this list but wasn't, let me know, and I'll see if I can put a video together for you. Until next time, this is NeoNexudus, signing out. Peace.